I rise giving all praise to the Most High God Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the Author of all creation, the Governor of all the worlds. I give high honors to the Holy Divine Prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who was indeed the last prophet sent to bring us the everlasting gospel. He is the mercy of Allah made manifest. It made manifest Islam. I give high honors to the forerunner of the Prophet, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association African Communities League, who is indeed the one who paved the way for purity. Islam Moors. I give honors to the Moors standard, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center. Each point representing the 5 high principles known to man, which I love: truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I give honors to the United States flag, for this is the flag of our birth, and it's a constant reminder that the European nations owe us, the Moors, the compound interest Islam Moors. And I give honors to you all for coming tonight. You know, it's Friday night here in Atlanta. You could be doing 50-11 things, you know, clubbing, going to the lounge, but you decided to come and learn about who you are and your place in the affairs of man, Islam. And speaking of Marcus Garvey, I want to give honors to a brother who served under Marcus Garvey that a lot of people don't give credit to, but he was actually very pivotal in the history of Pan-Africanism being pushed forward, and that's a brother named Carlos Cooks. And he is often noted as the protege of Marcus Garvey. He was a Dominican brother, and he was that medium. The historians will say he was that medium in between Marcus Garvey and the Pan-Africanism, Malcolm X. You know, he was real big in the 1940s, and he really pushed Pan-Africanism, and he really pushed the program of the UNIA. And so I want to give honors to Brother Carlos Cooks, because he's one of our mighty forefathers that sometimes can be left out of history. Islam. So honors to him. So all praise due to Allah, Holy Divine Prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I'm going to do my best not to be up here too long, but there's some key points that I want to hit, and they all coalesce together. Islam Moors. So I'm going to be taking a reading from the Moorish literature. Noble Drew Ali, the Prophet, founder of the Moorish Scientific of America, to redeem the people from their sinful ways. I'm going to be reading 2 articles. We're going to be reading parts of 2 articles, and that's What is Islam and Caveat Emptor. Islam Moors. So what is Islam? Islam is a very simple faith. It requires man to recognize his duties toward God, Allah, his creator, and his fellow creatures. It teaches the supreme duty of living at peace with one's surroundings. It is preeminently the religion of peace. The very name Islam means peace. So anybody wonder why we say Islam? You know, you go to most Islamic organizations, they might greet you with the greetings of Assalamu Alaikum, which, you know, something that we utilize as well. But being Moorish American Muslims, we have our own customs and culture, so we say Islam instead of that, that greeting. But it all means peace. It is preeminent religion of peace. The goal of a man's, the very name Islam means peace. The goal of a man's life, according to Islam, is peace with everything, peace with Allah, and peace with man. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, tells us that the final abode of man is the house of peace, where no vain word or sinful discourse will be heard. The holy divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, says that a follower of Islam, in the true sense of the word, is one whose hands, tongue, and thoughts do not hurt others. Object of a man's life, according to Islam, is its complete unfoldment. Islam teaches that man is born with unlimited capacities for progress. Islam does not support the idea that man was born in sin. It teaches that everyone has within him the seed of perfect development, and it rests solely with himself to make or mar his fortune. The cardinal doctrine of Islam is the unity of the Father, Allah. We believe in one God, Allah, who is all God, all mercy, and all power. He is perfect and holy. As the Assistant Grand Sheikh was breaking down the meaning of holy, to be set aside, all wisdom, all knowledge, and all truth. These are some of his great attributes so far as we can understand. He is free from all defects, holy and transcendent. He is personal to us insofar as we see his attributes working for us and in us. but he is nevertheless impersonal because he is infinite, perfect and holy. We do not believe that death, decay, or sleep overtake him. Neither do we believe that he is a helplessly inactive or inert force. Nothing happens without his knowledge and will. He neither begets nor is begotten, because these are the traits of frail and weak humanity. This unity of Allah is the first and foremost pillar of Islam, and every other belief hangs upon it. Islam. So in this article that I really want to bring out, I intended to read the whole article because, you know, it's important for those who are visiting the temple and as well as the members, you know, to really understand Islam and what's the purpose of us practicing Islam. So that's why I read the whole article. But something I really wanted to bring out, it says that he is infinite, perfect, holy. We do not believe that death or decay or sleep overtake him. Neither do we believe that he is a helpless, listen to this. Neither do we believe that he is a helplessly inactive and inert force. Keep that in mind. Now I'm going to be reading caveat emptor, certain parts, and then I'll proceed to my next demonstration. Caveat emptor: Moors are men, upright, independent and fearless, who care for their loved ones and follow the Prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain nor unknown. They are fortified by the impregnable doctrines built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is therefore folly at its greatest height for smelly culprits with their insidious plans to invade such realms. I'm going to skip ahead to, forgive me. They try, but their own bad planning brings down wrath upon their heads like the sword old Damocles had. Intrigue and scurrilous cunnings find a difficult path to travel within the ranks of the Moors. This is so because the Moorish movement has been well planned by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, whose latent powers are abundant, unknown, and may be called into action as a matter of defense at any moment. Prophet Noble Drew Ali knows the people within his ranks who are interested. I'm going to say that again. Prophet Noble Drew Ali knows the people within his ranks who are interested. They are vanguard for the movement as the Moorish hordes increase here in America. All of the Moors are active. Listen to this, Moors. All of the Moors are active, not passive. All of the Moors are active, not passive. Just as in the previous article we read that said that Allah is not a helpless or inert, is not a helplessly inactive or inert force. So if we're going to try to mimic and take on the attributes of Allah, he is not helplessly inert or inactive. And to be a Moorish American means that you're not passive. Means that you are active and not passive. See, those things correlate, because what the Prophet is telling us is that we have to be active and on guard. We have to be vigilant when it comes to this movement. We can't sit around and just hope and wait that the finances will come. We can't just sit around and hope and wait that the membership is going to come. We can't sit around and hope and wait that whatever it is that we're looking for to improve the movement is going to come. We have to be active, not passive, in the achieving of what it is we set out to do in Morristown Temple, America. Islam? Islam. So if y'all don't have a copy, I would urge you. Do we have any more copies of? Okay. Well, once we get more copies, and I urge everyone to get a copy of this book. This is part of the standard literature for the Moorish Americans. But just remember that we are not passive. We're active. We have to put that effort into it, Moors. I'll be taking a reading from chapter 41 of the Holy Instructions from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the Holy Quran in the Morristown Temple of America, divinely prepared by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, by the guiding of his Father, God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his Father God, Allah. Islam. Instruction 1. Nature urgeth thee to inconstancy, O man. Therefore, Guide thyself at all times. And this is holy instructions from the prophet in constancy. Nature urgeth thee to inconstancy, O man. Therefore, guard thyself at all times against it. Thou art from the womb of thy mother, various and wavering. From the loins of thy father inherited thou instability. How then shalt thou be firm? And inconstancy simply means, you're held to skeleton. You're not, you're wishy-washy, as we say in the streets. You feel what I'm saying? You're inconsistent. You're not very reliable. It's hard to depend upon you. Because you're one way today, you're another way tomorrow. And the prophet is giving us instructions on how to overcome that, because that's part of our nature. When he says, nature urgeth thee to inconstancy, and from the womb of thy mother, various and wavering, from the loins of thy father, inherit thou instability. He's saying that being a human being, that's a trait that's just inside of us. But there's a way to overcome that particular trait, and that way is within these instructions. Those who gave thee a body furnished it with weakness, but he who gave thee a soul armed thee with resolution, or a solution to that particular problem. So you come equipped with problems, but you also come equipped with solutions for that problem. So there's no excuse. How then shalt thou be firm? Those who gave thee a body furnished with weakness, but he who gave thee a soul armed thee with resolution. Employ it. If thou art wise, be wise, and thou art happy. Let him who doeth well be aware of how he bestoweth it, for rarely it is of his own will. Is it not the event of an impulse from without, born on uncertainty, enforced by accident, dependent on what someone else? To thee and to accident is due the praise. Beware of irresolution in the intent of thy actions. Beware of instability in the execution. I'm going to say it again. Beware of instability in the execution. So shalt thou triumph over two great failings of thy nature. What reproacheth reason more than to act contrarieties? What can suppress the tendencies to these but firmness of mind? The inconsistent feeleth. Listen to instruction 8. This is very important. The inconsistent feeleth that he changeth, but he knoweth not why. He seeth that he escapeth from himself, but he perceiveth not how. Be thou incapable of change in what is right, and men will rely upon thee. That's right. What did the Holy Prophet mean when he say, be thou incapable of change in what is right, and men will rely upon thee? That's because he knew in our nature that we're capable of change. We're capable of being just like I said, we fluctuate. And a lot of things that we fluctuate are on the right things. We don't rely on our morals and our principles. We don't have morals and principles that we rely upon. So anything goes. We're not consistent. We don't stick to a task at hand and stick to it and stay committed and stay firm to that particular task. So the prophet is telling us that we need to overcome that. Like I said, it's in every last one of us. It's not a man or woman, and even the prophet himself battled with this, right? Even Jesus battled with this. But like Jesus, like the prophet, like you and I, we have the power, the ability to overcome this. And why is this? Why did I bring out these points? In terms of being inactive, being inert. In terms of being incapable of change in things that are right. I brought these things up, Moors, because when it comes to the Moorish Science Temple of America and being members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, even though we got feathers on our heads, turbans, pins, and we read the Quran and we say Islam and we do all the cultural and ceremonial things, we're still acting as if these principles don't apply to us. We're still moving as if these principles don't apply to us. So we as Moorish Americans have to do a better job of being more consistent when it comes to the works of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the works of improving ourselves, and the works of improving our community. See, that's the only way that the people that's on the outside, our brothers and sisters that are in the cares of the world, are going to see us and actually want to come in. But if they see you and you exactly like them, meaning that you have the same follies, the same triggers, the same everything, well, then they're going to say, well, what moral high ground do you have? You don't attend your meetings. You don't pay your dues. You show up late. So how can I try to strive to be like you when you're doing the very things that I'm doing? No more. The prophet gave us these in particular instructions, he gave us the means for us to overcome those weaknesses that we have. Because these are the weaknesses in today's time that Moors are facing. And we have it so much easier than the Moors had it in the past. You're talking about people who were just coming off the slave plantation, sharecroppers, people who were living in abject poverty, but they committed themselves to a movement because they really felt and saw the value in it. And so they were willing to change their ways and actually give what they had and not be passive when it comes to the movement. So the question I have to ask y'all is, do y'all feel the same way in this day and time? Do y'all see the way our people are being treated out in the streets? Do y'all see the way that our people are walking around with just death on their mind and death on their brain? So how can we bring them to life if we still demonstrating death degrees? How can we bring them to life if we're not willing to look within ourselves and be the light, be the word, be the message? It's important more. That's why I'm not trying to be preaching. I'm not trying to condemn anybody. But we have to start to really apply these principles and be consistent. It's one thing to know it. It's one thing to dress up nice, to dress fancy, and do all this, because that's part of our culture. We're clean people. We're fashionable people. But we have to be consistent with it. Just like our Grand Sheik always, our Grand Governor always says, you know, you have your fez on even when you don't have it on, right? But when it's time to put the fez on, you be here, you be in attendance, and you be on time, and you be consistent. It's important. More, the prophet didn't give us the divine constitution and bylaws just so we can repeat something and sound deep. We have to actually live by that. He didn't give us these instructions for us to learn and for us to adhere to just so we can have something to read when we're in the meeting. The real test is when you step outside of those doors. Islam Moors. Establish unto thyself principles of action, not talk. Not talk. Not principles of speech, not principles of rhetoric, not principles of dialogue, but principles of action. What you gonna do? What you gonna set in stone and make happen? Once again, active, not passive. Not an inert, a helplessly inert or passive force. Establish unto thyself principles of action, and see that thou and see that thou ever act according to them. So shall thy passions have no so shall thy passions have no rule over thee. So shall thy constancy ensure unto thee the good thou possessest, and drive from thy door misfortune. Anxiety and disappointment shall be strangers to thy gate. More, so shall thy passions have no rule over thee, and so shall thy constancy ensure unto thee the good thou possessest, and drive from thy fortunes. I mean, that's a demonstration of all that. All of our people demonstrate more. You know, we're being ruled by our passions. Meaning that, you know, to translate, our passions being the things that we feel, you know, in the moment. Y'all hear the sirens blaring right now. I'm pretty sure that's a result of a brother or sister acting within their passions. They're not reasoning, they're not thinking, which are the actions of the soul. You know, they're acting according to how they feel. So the prophet, once again, see, the Noble Drew Ali, the prophet Noble Drew Ali, gave us everything that we need to make ourselves the best versions of ourselves. All we got to do is tap in and apply the principles to our life. So shall thy passions have no rule over thee, so shall thy constancy ensure unto thee the good thou possesseth, and drive from thy door misfortune. Anxiety and disappointment shall be strangers to thy gate. Suspect not evil in anyone until thou seest it, and when thou seest, forget it not. Whoso hath been an enemy cannot be a friend, for a man mendeth not his faults. How should his actions be right, who hath no rule of his life? Nothing can be just which proceedeth not from reason. The inconstant hath no peace in his soul, neither can he be at ease whom he concerneth himself with. His life is unequal, his motions are irregular, his soul changeth with the weather. More, that's pretty much all of us, right? You know, like I said, we have a helter skelter. We wishy-washy.
That's right.
You know, today, oh man, I love Noble Drew Ali. Man, I'm for the movement. Tomorrow, oh man, I'm tired, Mo. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, Mo. I don't know. See, that's being inconsistent.
That's right.
You either love the prophet, you love Allah, you love his movement, or you don't. And you act like it.
Speak on it, Mo.
The inconstant have no peace in his soul, neither can he be at ease whom he concern himself with. His life is unequal, his motions are irregular, his soul changes with the weather. Moors, be firm. Don't the wind, the tree, the leaves on the tree, they sway with the wind. But we're Moors. Hold on, let me read y'all something, just in case y'all don't understand me. Y'all don't understand the prophet. You don't have to understand me, understand the prophet. Moors are men, upright, independent, and fearless. We are upright,
That's right.
independent, and we're fearless, which means we don't sway, we don't budge, we don't move.
That's right.
Today he loveth thee. Listen to this. Today he loveth thee. Tomorrow thou art detested by him. And why? Himself knoweth not, wherefore he now hateth. Moors, the prophet say here that, you know, today, just like I said a minute ago, today we love the prophet, we love the movement. Tomorrow, we ain't want nothing to do with the movement. And we don't even know why. We have no clue. It's just something that happens. But the reason, as the prophet explained before, is because it's built within us. Just the assistant Grand Sheik touched on before about, you know, why we have certain feelings being, you know, in the plane to manifest. That's part of it. Because you can do this, there's gonna be there's something that come with this. Being able to touch and feel, there's a lot that come with that. It's a lot that comes with that. You know, when it comes with being unwavering, you know, and not unwavering, but being inconsistent. You know, it comes with being wishy-washy, not having focus. But we have the keys to go beyond that. Today he is a tyrant. Tomorrow thy servant is less humble. And why? He who is arrogant without power will be servile while there is no subjection. Today he is profuse. Tomorrow he grudgeth unto his mouth that which it should eat. Thus it is with him who knoweth not moderation. Who shall say of the chameleon, he is black, when the moment after the verde of the grid, or the verdure of the grass overspreadeth him. That's verde, you know, green. 20. Who shall say of the inconstant, he is joyful, when his next breath shall be spent in sign? So once again, the prophet is saying there, 1 minute you're happy, next minute you're sad.
Wow.
You know, oh man, next minute. It's like, what happened? It was a whole 180 in no time. What is the life of such a man but the phantom? Oh man, what is the life of such a man but the phantom of a dream? Boy, that's a. Do you know what a phantom is? Boy, that's an illusion. That's a suit. It's not real in the slightest. But these are the things that drive us, more illusions. Okay. In the morning he riseth happy. At noon he is on the rack. This hour he is a god. The next below a worm. One moment he laugheth. The next he weepeth. He now willeth. In an instant he willeth not. And in another he knoweth not whether he willeth or not. That's a confused brother. Yet neither ease nor pain have fixed themselves on him. Neither is he waxed greater or become less. Neither hath he had cause for laughter or reason for his sorrow. Therefore shall none of them abide with him. The happiness of the inconstant is a palace built on the surface of the sand. The blowing of the wind carrieth away its foundation. What wonder then that it falleth? But what exalted form is this? That hitherward directs its uninterrupted course, whose foot is on earth, whose head is above the clouds. On his brow sitteth majesty. Steadiness is in his port. and in his heart reigneth tranquility. Though obstacles appear in his way, he denieth not to look down upon them. Though heaven and earth oppose his passage, he proceedeth. The mountains sink beneath his tread, the waters of the ocean are dried up under the sole of his foot. The tiger throweth himself across his way in vain. The spots of the leopard glow against him unregarded. He marcheth through the embattled legions. With his hands he putteth aside the terrors of death. Storms roar against his shoulders, but are not able to shake him. The thunder bursteth over his head in vain. The lightning serveth but to show the glories of his I can't pronounce that word. The glories of his countenance, His name is resolution. Right. He cometh from the utmost part of the earth. He seeth happiness afar off before him. His eye discovereth her temple beyond the limits of the pole. He walketh up to it. He entereth boldly, and he remaineth there forever. Establish thy heart, O man, in that which is right. And then know the greatest of human is to be immutable. So more, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is telling you, sum all that up. You got to be firm. You got to be consistent. You can't be wishy-washy. You can't be helter-skelter. One way you this way, and tomorrow you the next way. You never get anything done like that, Morris. You're not able to build the Holy and Divine movement. You know, this is a national and divine movement, and the only way it's going to be built is by Moors who are upright, independent, and fearless, who are active and not passive, Moors. That's the only way this movement is going to be built. So I leave you all by saying that it's important, Moors, that we continue to study the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if you have time, if you all have a copy of the Holy Quran and Moorish Science Tip of America prepared by Noble Drew Ali, take some time to go over chapter 41 in the instructions and see where you can apply these to your life. You know, how can you become more consistent, in your words and your deeds and your thoughts and your actions. But as it pertains to the movement, speaking to the Moors who are part of Moorish Science Tip of America, it's important that we take these and apply it to ourselves so we can become better members of the Moorish Science Tip of America. Because as the temple grows, we're going to need more upright and fearless and independent men and women. But if you're not consistent, see, consistency is the root of all things, really, because you have to show that dedication, that commitment, day in and day out. Other schools of thought have committed to that. Me and the Sister Gresham was talking about this before the meeting started. But we always quote the Prophet when he says, we're returning the church back to the European nation, the pagan nation of Europe. But for those of us who grew up in the church or church-like settings, you saw the consistency of the people in the church. So you saw the large congregations. You saw the financially stable congregations. You saw the word being propagated. But see, we leave the church, or we leave whatever European psychology church or things, the word I'm looking for is the institution, excuse me. But we leave those institutions thinking that we have to leave that structure alone, but that's not the case. The Moorish Science Tip of America is indeed a religious organization. And like all religious organizations, require people who are dedicated to its upliftment, to its empowerment. So Moors, please, buyer beware. Buyer beware, Moors. Members are active and not passive, and the Prophet knows if you're interested or not. And he knows if you're interested or not through his grand sheikhs and the sheikhs of the Moorish Science Tip of America. And they assess whether you're interested or not because they know, well, how often do you attend? Are you paying your due? See, these are the things that make a movement strong. And if we want the movement to be strong, Moors, we have to be strong. A chain is only strong as its weakest link. So you got to ask yourself, are we the weak link? Are we the reason why the movement is not as powerful as it could be? It's powerful, but why? Ask yourself, are you the reason why it's not as powerful as it could be? Because I do. I ask myself, what more could I do to help make sure that the Moorish Science Tip of America is the institution that our people go to, not only to learn about their nationality and divine creed, because that's important as well, but also an organization that politicians come to because we got power, just like they did in the Prophet's day, that people come to receive jobs and housing and things like that, just like in the Prophet's day. See, the Prophet died 91 years ago, Moors. The Prophet died 91 years ago. But the movement didn't die 91 years ago. The movement's still going on. But do we have a quarter of a fifth of half of what the Prophet had in these days? In the day that he was operating and really facilitating the movement? No. No, we don't. And whose fault is that? Not the Prophet's fault, because he gave you what you needed. He told you what to do. The question is, are you doing it? Are you making it manifest? See, you got to manifest it. No, manifest the movement that the Prophet left so our people can manifest the tangibles. We got children in the room. What are we leaving for them? If you don't want to be consistent for yourself, if you don't want to be consistent for the Prophet, be consistent for the children. Be consistent for the babies, because it's time out for us half-stepping. It's the holy day. You know, it's time out for us half-stepping and just doing enough and just doing, I'm just going, no, Mo. Step up, step out, and put the Prophet first and be consistent, because the Prophet was consistent. He started 15 temples by himself. Didn't ask not one of y'all for help. Did it by himself, and he didn't start one and say, oh man, that's enough. He went and started another one, and another one, and another one. And then we settled to, I'm setting up my own printing press. I mean, the Prophet was consistent. He had constancy. He had love, and the love didn't die. Morris, did your love for the Prophet die?
No, sir.
Is your love for the Prophet dying? Because see, that's the real context of the word inconstancy. So if your love for the Prophet did not die and is not dying, act like it. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Peace.